What if I told you that beneath the sands of Africa lies a treasure trove worth trillions? In today's video, we're uncovering a shocking truth about Mali and Algeria that could change everything you thought you knew about the region. Imagine this. You have the technology to disrupt a deadly terrorist meeting, but in a cruel twist of fate, your own ally turns against you. On April 1st, 2025, a Turkish-made military drone operated by Mali was shot down by Algeria, not due to enemy conflict, but as a result of rising tensions between neighbors. This wasn't just a malfunction, it signaled the disintegration of decades of cooperation and friendships.
Let's turn to Western Africa. Tensions are peaking in the Sahel region. Algeria shot down a drone belonging to Mali's military. This happened last week. Algeria says the drone was armed and violated its airspace. Mali's military junta has denied the accusations. In response, they're accusing Algeria of sponsoring terrorist activities. Flights between the two countries have been cancelled, and joining the standoff are Mali's junta allies, Burkina Faso and Niger. They have recalled their...
Join us as we delve into the heart of the Mali-Algeria tension, exploring the complex web of ethnic conflicts, historical betrayals, and a fierce competition for precious resources that could fuel the next major conflict in Africa. But before we take this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep explorations into the world's most pressing issues. If you find this video eye-opening, give us a thumbs up and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think peace can be restored, or are we heading toward a new crisis? Let's get started on unraveling the Mali-Algeria mystery. Mali and Algeria share a staggering 1,300-kilometer border that stretches across the Sahara Desert. For decades, these two nations enjoyed a close relationship, with Algeria acting as a mentor and protector to Mali, offering guidance as it navigated the post-colonial landscape. However, a dramatic shift occurred when Algeria downed the Malian drone. The response from Mali was swift and unequivocal. They condemned Algeria as an exporter of terrorism, a charge that stings deeply in an area marred by such accusations. The drone incident was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. To truly grasp the magnitude of this geopolitical powder keg, we must examine the historical and cultural contexts that have shaped relations between these two nations against the backdrop of the volatile Sahel region. Historical and ethnic tensions. The roots of the Mali-Algeria conflict can be traced back to colonial times when European powers drew arbitrary borders that disregarded ethnic realities. The Tuareg people, nomadic Berbers who migrated from Libya and Algeria, found themselves divided among several modern-day countries, including Mali, Niger, and Algeria itself. This fracturing sowed the seeds of discontent and rebellion that would echo through subsequent generations. Since Mali's independence in 1960, the Tuareg have launched multiple uprisings demanding autonomy in northern Mali, an area they refer to as Azawad. The first major rebellion occurred in the early 1990s, driven by grievances over political marginalization, economic neglect, and cultural suppression. This struggle culminated in renewed conflict in 2012 when Tuareg rebels seized control of northern Mali, only to be overtaken by jihadist groups that hijacked their movement. The complexities of colonial borders have not only fueled ethnic tensions, but have also complicated efforts to forge national unity. The Tuaregs' desire for self-determination has been consistently met with harsh crackdowns from the Malian state, resulting in a cycle of violence and retaliation that has only strained Mali-Algeria relations further. Shift in regional dynamics. Things took a radical turn in 2021 when Colonel Assimi Goïta seized power in Mali through a military coup. Unlike previous leaders who leaned on France for military and economic assistance, Goïta turned toward Russia, forming an alliance with Wagner Group mercenaries. This shift infuriated both Algeria and France, but for distinct reasons. France viewed it as a betrayal of their historical ties, while Algeria felt threatened by the potential rise of a military ally on its southern border. In late 2023, Mali's forces, supported by Russian backing, recaptured Kidal, a strategic stronghold that had long been under Tuareg control. Rather than celebrating this victory against extremism, Algeria opted for a more suspicious angle, with reports suggesting that rebel leaders fled into Algeria after the fall of Kidal. This fueled accusations that Algeria was harboring elements threatening Mali's stability, a claim that has dangerously fueled the fire of animosity. The quest for resources. While the diplomatic and military tensions between Mali and Algeria have historical roots, the contemporary backdrop is primarily economic. Below the Sahara sands lie vast and extremely valuable resources: gold, uranium, iron ore, and critically important rare earth minerals essential for modern technology. Mali ranks as Africa's third largest gold producer, but the real treasure trove is located in the northern regions, an area rich in hydrocarbons. Mali's burgeoning mining sector has attracted interest from international companies, making resource control a top priority for the Malian government. However, the potential for rich resource exploitation in northern Mali is intimately tied to Algeria's economic interests. Algeria's state-owned oil company, Sonatrach, was granted exploration rights in northern Mali's Tuadeni Basin back in 2007, specifically in Block 20. However, the findings from these explorations were never made public, raising questions about what riches might remain hidden and who benefits from their obscurity. The minerals race. The race for minerals includes not only traditional baser metals like iron and copper, but also highly sought-after rare earth elements critical for modern electronics. These minerals are essential for the green technology revolution, including electric vehicle batteries and renewable energy technologies. The global demand for such resources has increased exponentially, placing Mali and Algeria at the center of the geopolitical chessboard. The prospect of such wealth provides a strong incentive for both countries to stake their claims and assert control over these regions. However, the political instability resulting from ongoing conflicts complicates these aspirations, leaving both nations at risk of failing to harness their natural wealth for developmental goals. Algeria's strategy of controlled chaos. Various intelligence reports suggest that Algeria has purposely maintained instability in northern Mali to exert influence over the region, delaying resource exploitation while fortifying its strategic control. This ongoing manipulation benefits Algeria at a time when conflicts, skirmishes, and military tensions are ratcheting up. Furthermore, Algeria is concerned about the implications of Islamic extremism in the region. The rise of jihadist groups poses a direct threat not only to Malian stability, but to Algerian national security as well. The well-documented relationships between these groups have raised alarm bells in Algiers, compelling the government to act against any perceived threats emanating from Mali. As such, one could argue that Algeria's aggressive stance may not stem from mere territorial ambition, but also from a legitimate desire to secure its borders against the encroachment of extremist elements. However, this rationalization fails to account for the larger power dynamics at play and the potential for external actors to exploit these tensions. Morocco's strategic moves. Additionally, Algeria's stance indirectly reinforces its position in a standoff with Morocco, a regional rival that has been forging new alliances with Mali. Morocco and Algeria have long been embroiled in rivalry stemming from historical conflicts, territorial disputes, and differing ideological stances. In February 2025, Morocco established a joint military commission with Mali, marking a fresh chapter in strategic partnerships. This marks a troubling turn for Algeria, as its historical influence in Mali dwindles further. Morocco has effectively capitalized on Algeria's missteps, reaching out to forge alliances with Mali, thus counteracting Algerian hegemony in the region. This camaraderie between Mali and Morocco has revitalized Morocco's diplomatic and military stature and serves as a counterweight to Algeria's ambitions. As Mali seeks military cooperation with Morocco, Algeria feels encircled. The increasing militarization along both borders raises the likelihood of miscalculations and accidental confrontations. Ironic, considering that both Algeria and Morocco are outside powers in the broader fight against terrorism. The breaking point. The downing of Mali's drone was, therefore, not just an isolated incident, but a culmination of rising tensions that serve both national interests and the ambitions of external powers. Following this action, Mali withdrew from regional security arrangements with Algeria, accusing Algeria of harboring terrorism. The diplomatic ties between these former allies have shattered as both countries closed their airspace to each other and exchanged inflammatory rhetoric that further escalated hostilities. Mali's accusations are particularly poignant. It frames the conflict as one of sovereignty and national integrity. By branding Algeria's actions as aggressive, Mali seeks not only to rally domestic support, but also to position itself favorably on the international stage. The framing of Algeria as a state sponsor of terrorism is a powerful tool in swaying public opinion and appealing to global partners. In return, Algeria retaliated vocally, accusing Mali's leaders of being a mafia clique and failing to uphold democratic norms following their military coup. Each side claims moral superiority, further entrenching their positions to the detriment of constructive dialogue. The risk of escalation. Military sources indicate that Algeria has mobilized its forces along the border, while Mali maintains its operations against rebel strongholds. This predilection for conflict poses a stark risk. A skirmish between these two nations would not only affect their interests, but could spiral into a broader conflict. The crucial nature of the resources at stake makes this impending conflict existential for both countries. For Mali, control over northern resource wealth could catalyze economic transformation. Conversely, for Algeria, losing access to these vital reserves threatens its hidden revenue streams and influence. As both nations prepare for potential military engagement, the broader devastation that could ensue is cause for grave concern. The alliance of Sahel states. The situation does not solely involve Mali and Algeria. The creation of the alliance of Sahel states, comprising Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, has galvanized the region further. This alliance functions on the principle that an attack on one member is an attack on all, providing a collective security mechanism designed to counter threats from extremist factions. Mali's burgeoning military cooperation with Niger and Burkina Faso signifies a push toward regional solidarity against external threats, but it also introduces complicating factors in its relations with Algeria. With Algeria adopting a more confrontational stance, the risk of an accidental clash grows, particularly if military maneuvers are misinterpreted or strategically misunderstood. Amid this rapidly deteriorating situation, it is critical to highlight the pressing need for collaboration rather than conflict. Africa, resembling a tapestry woven from diverse ethnic backgrounds and historical narratives, faces pressing challenges, including climate change, terrorism, and socio-economic development. These are issues that require a unified response rather than divisive actions that ultimately benefit external powers eager to exploit African divisions. The role of external powers. Global actors, including Western nations with vested interests in energy security, have often exacerbated regional tensions by favoring one side over another. The focus on counterterrorism has led to interventions that may have unintended consequences, creating a breeding ground for further instability rather than fostering peace and collaboration. The increased military presence of foreign powers in the Sahel further complicates matters. They often come with their own agendas, focused on their geopolitical interests rather than the long-term stability and success of the African nations involved. As such, African nations must take the lead in resolving their conflicts while retaining agency against external manipulation. A stable, united Sahel is imperative for sustainable growth and lasting peace. Diplomatic negotiations and efforts prioritize mutual trust and cooperation can serve as the foundation to mend relationships that have been fractured. Dialogue must emphasize shared interests, economic development, security collaboration, and resource management. Efforts must also be undertaken to address the grievances of historically marginalized groups, particularly the Tuareg. Establishing equitable development policies that bridge the gap between the north and the south of Mali can serve to alleviate tensions and foster long-term stability. Furthermore, Algeria must recognize Mali's sovereignty and desire to forge its own path, even as it confronts the specter of terrorism. by fostering a cooperative security framework that includes transparent intelligence sharing, military collaboration in counterterrorism, and economic cooperation, both nations could work towards a more peaceful coexistence. The Mali-Algeria crisis encapsulates a myriad of complex factors, historical grievances, resource interests, and an evolving geopolitical terrain. Both nations stand at a crossroads, and how they navigate these tensions will define not just their paths, but could set a precedent for the entire region. As citizens of Africa and the global community watch closely, the hope remains that cooler heads will prevail. A peaceful resolution must be sought, one that recognizes the historical ties that bind these nations and the potential resources that, if managed cooperatively, could pave the way for a brighter future. The ultimate challenge remains: can Mali and Algeria rise above their divisions and chart a course toward cooperation? As we ponder these questions, we invite you, the reader, to join this discourse. What do you think? Is Algeria justified in protecting its interests? Or does Mali have every right to assert its sovereignty? The answers may lay the groundwork for peace or further conflict. Let's open the dialogue and encourage thoughtful discourse on this crucial issue. Trust, after all, is the most valuable resource to be cultivated in the Sahara, and once broken, it is harder to find than water in a desert. With this in mind, let us remain vigilant in the unfolding narratives of our shared world, one that continues to develop as the geopolitical landscape shifts under the weight of history, resources, and the unyielding quest for autonomy. Until next time, may we seek understanding and connection in a world that often seems divided.